If you clicked on this video, here's exactly what you're about to uncover: a chilling breakdown of the mysterious fatal fall accident reported on September 11th and the shocking supernatural twist that followed. In the next few minutes, you'll hear the eerie events witnesses claim happened after the tragedy, unexplained sounds, sudden temperature drops, and a presence that many now believe was YU Menglong himself returning for justice. This story is intense, emotional, and impossible to forget, and trust me, you'll want to watch till the very end, because the final revelation will leave you questioning everything you think you know about life, death, and revenge. Now let's get into this mind-bending story. They said it was just an accident. They said he had been drinking. They said the fall was unavoidable. But from the very first moment, something felt wrong. People who knew YU Menglong personally described him as calm, composed, emotionally steady, the least likely person to end up in a drunken fatal fall. Yet, on the night of September 11th, the official statement declared exactly that: a tragic accident caused by alcohol. Case closed. No questions asked. But the questions didn't stop. The whispers didn't stop. And the truth refused to stay buried. The first strange incident occurred only hours after the news broke. At exactly 3:11 a.m., a staff member working at the building where the fall reportedly happened claimed she heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, steady, echoing in the empty silence. She assumed it was security. But when she stepped out to check, the hallway lights flickered, and there was nobody there. Yet the footsteps continued, passing right beside her, as though an invisible figure brushed past her shoulder. She later said she felt a sudden rush of cold air, freezing cold, like winter entered my bones. But she didn't know how to process what she felt until later. And she wasn't the only one. Across the city, fans reported their phones buzzing at the same time that night, 3:11 a.m., with old notifications from YU Menglong's previous livestreams, even though they hadn't watched those clips in months. For some, it was a video recommendation. For others, a saved screenshot appearing randomly. One fan swore her phone played a voice note, a behind-the-scenes clip of YU Menglong laughing, even though she had deleted it long ago. It was as though something wanted to be remembered. Or someone didn't want to be forgotten. But the real turning point came 2 days later, when one of YU Menglong's closest friends, a man who initially stayed silent, finally confessed that he believed the fall wasn't an accident at all. He explained that in the weeks leading up to the tragedy, YU Menglong had privately expressed fear. Not of fans, not of pressure, but of a particular individual who had been threatening him behind the scenes. He didn't want to involve the authorities because the person was powerful, connected, and capable of destroying reputations. So YU Menglong protected himself the only way he could, by keeping quiet. But silence can be deadly. And it was. The friend recalled a conversation just 5 days before the incident. YU Menglong had pulled him aside and whispered something chilling. "If anything happens to me, promise me you won't believe it was an accident." Those words haunted him. And they became terrifyingly relevant when, after the tragedy, he began experiencing supernatural moments that made him question reality itself. On the night he finally gathered the courage to visit the site of the fall, he felt an overwhelming heaviness in the air, a pressure he couldn't explain. And then, without wind, without movement, without anything that could cause it, the building's emergency exit door slammed shut behind him. He ran. He didn't look back. But as he reached the stairs, he heard a whisper, quiet, broken, almost desperate. "Help!" He froze. His mind told him it was impossible. His body shook violently. But something inside him, something familiar, made him turn around. When he did, he saw nothing. Yet he felt everything. A presence hovered only inches away, cold, heavy, concentrated. A presence with a purpose. That was the moment he realized YU Menglong wasn't gone. Not fully. Not peacefully. From that night on, more witnesses came forward. Crew members on old filming sets. Neighbors near his apartment. Even fans at memorial gatherings. They all described the same disturbing phenomenon. A shadow appearing briefly beside them. A sudden scent of his favorite cologne. A cold pressure on their shoulder. Or a whisper calling their name. Each event was subtle, almost gentle, but unmistakably real. The more stories emerged, the clearer the picture became. YU MENGLONG's spirit was not wandering aimlessly. It was searching. Trying to communicate. Trying to lead people toward the truth. One particularly chilling event happened to a young intern who had briefly worked with him weeks before the tragedy. She claimed that while sorting old footage in the editing room, every device in the studio suddenly froze: computer, cameras, lights. And then, on her screen, a single image appeared. It was a still frame of YU MENGLONG smiling in an interview. But the smile faded slowly, like someone was dragging a shadow over his face. Then the audio glitched and played one distorted phrase. "They lied." She fainted on the spot. When she regained consciousness, the entire file had vanished from the computer. Deleted. No trace in the system. As though it never existed. But she knew what she saw. And she wasn't the only one. A security guard who worked the night shift revealed that CCTV footage from the stairwell was mysteriously wiped minutes before the fall, but not by accident. Someone manually deleted it. Someone with access. Someone who knew what they were doing. Yet despite their attempt to erase the truth, something unexpected happened. Every time anyone tried to cover up a detail. Every time someone tried to change the narrative. Every time a piece of evidence went missing. Another supernatural event occurred, louder, clearer, more aggressive. Lights would shatter. Doors would slam violently. Objects would move on their own. And people would hear a voice, stronger now, filled with frustration. Tell the truth. The haunting grew so intense that even the officials handling the case reportedly refused to work late hours. They claimed the atmosphere became unnatural, that shadows didn't move the way they should, that whispers echoed in empty corridors. One investigator finally broke down and admitted. "It felt like someone was watching us, demanding that we correct something. But we were too afraid." And the fear wasn't baseless. 2 different officers reported seeing a figure standing at the end of the hall, tall, motionless, blurry like heat rising from asphalt, but when they approached, the figure dissolved into the wall. Both officers requested reassignment immediately afterward. But the most dramatic supernatural event happened during a private gathering held by YU MENGLONG's closest friends. They lit candles for him, shared memories, watched old clips, trying desperately to make peace with the tragedy. Midway through the gathering, the candles began flickering uncontrollably. The room dimmed. The temperature dropped so sharply that everyone could see their breath. And then, the screen displaying his old video clips glitched violently. The video froze on YU MENGLONG's face. His eyes, warm and gentle in the original interview, distorted into something sharper. Focused. Urgent. And then his voice echoed through the speakers, not soft, not calm, but firm. "Look deeper." Everyone in the room screamed. The power cut. The candles blew out. The room went silent. But when they finally managed to turn the lights back on, something even more disturbing happened. A single sentence was written across the fogged-up glass window. It wasn't there before. Nobody wrote it. Nobody touched the window. But the message was clear. "I'm not finished." From that moment, none of his friends doubted the truth anymore. They realized YU MENGLONG's spirit wasn't stuck between life and death, it was fighting. Seeking justice. Refusing to rest until the real story was exposed. And that's when the final twist occurred. The friend who had promised not to believe the accident explanation received a mysterious anonymous package. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside the package was a USB drive. On it was footage. Real footage. Never before seen footage. The missing stairwell CCTV recording. The one that had been deleted. The video showed YU MENGLONG entering the stairwell, completely sober, steady, alert. Not stumbling. Not intoxicated. Not impaired. Then, seconds later, a second figure entered the frame. A person wearing a dark hoodie. A person who confronted him. A person who pushed him. The video ended abruptly after the fall. But the truth was right there. It was no accident. It was no misstep. It was no alcohol-induced fall. It was murder. And the moment the friend saw that footage, something incredible happened. The temperature in his room warmed. The shadows softened. And for the first time since the tragedy, He felt peace in the air. He believed YU MENGLONG's spirit had finally delivered the truth into the right hands, finally achieved the justice he sought, finally completed the purpose that kept him tied to this world. But the story isn't over yet. Because the person in the video, the one responsible, is still out there. Still hiding. Still pretending. Still breathing freely. And many believe YU MENGLONG's spirit won't rest until the world knows exactly who they are. The haunting may have slowed, but it hasn't stopped. The whispers have quieted, but they haven't vanished. The presence is softer, but still there. Waiting. Watching. Ensuring that the truth will come out, no matter how long it takes, no matter who tries to bury it. And that, right there, is the chilling, unforgettable story of a spirit who refused to be silenced, even by death. What most people don't know is that the haunting didn't just begin after the tragedy. There were warning signs before September 11th, signs that everyone ignored. And this continuation dives deeper into those moments, the ones that now seem painfully obvious but were shrugged off as stress, exhaustion, or coincidence. But looking back, every strange shadow, every cold breeze, every flicker of fear was pointing to one truth. The spirit of YU MENGLONG was preparing to fight long before the fall ever happened. It started subtly. Crew members from his last project revealed later that during recording sessions, equipment began malfunctioning around YU in very specific ways, lights flickering only when he entered the room, cameras shutting down only when he spoke about his personal life, and mics picking up faint static that resembled breathing. Heavy, distressed breathing. At the time, everyone laughed it off. Maybe the studio is haunted, one makeup artist joked. But YU didn't laugh. He simply stared at the dark corner of the room like he saw something no one else could. And that was just the beginning. One night, after a long shoot, a staff member offered him a ride home. He refused, saying he needed to clear his mind and walk. But halfway down the street, he froze. His friend noticed the sudden shift. YU stopped moving, stopped breathing naturally, stopped blinking. Then, slowly, he turned and looked behind him, even though the street was completely empty. "What is it?" his friend asked. YU answered with a voice barely above a whisper, "I'm being followed." But when his friend turned around, there was nothing. Later, after the tragedy, that same friend admitted YU had confided something terrifying. He felt an unseen presence watching him for weeks, not a human stalker, not a physical threat, something darker, something silent, something waiting for him to slip. The night before the fall, YU MENGLONG reportedly had a nightmare so violent he woke up screaming. Neighbors said they heard objects crashing, furniture tipping over, and YU desperately repeating the same sentence. "Don't take me. Don't take me. Not yet." When he finally opened the door to a worried neighbor, sweat drenched his hair, his voice trembled, and his hands were ice cold, like he had been pulled out of freezing water. He kept looking over his shoulder, even inside his own apartment. This wasn't fear of a person. This was fear of a force. After the September 11th tragedy, these details began to make sense. The supernatural events people witnessed afterward weren't random, they were echoes of everything YU had tried to warn about. But here's where the story gets even more chilling. 3 days after the fall, the building's cleaning staff refused to work on the stairwell level. Every single one of them reported the same thing. Whenever they approached the landing where the fall occurred, the air turned ice cold and their ears started ringing. One janitor described it perfectly. It felt like the air was screaming. Another said he saw a handprint on the metal railing, a clear, fresh handprint, even though the area had been wiped down minutes before. But the most disturbing part? The handprint was ice cold to the touch. Not normal cold. Not metal cold. The kind of cold that feels like it's burning your skin. And the handprint was smaller than an average man's. As though someone terrified had grabbed the railing in desperation. Fans who visited the location for memorials also reported bizarre experiences. Flowers wilted unusually fast. Candles blew out even without wind. One fan was recording a short tribute video when her phone shook in her hand violently even though she wasn't moving. The screen glitch turned completely black, and then for half a second, an image flashed. An image of someone falling. She threw her phone on the ground. But the most mind-blowing incident happened to a delivery driver who had never even heard of the tragedy. He wasn't a fan. He didn't know the story. He was simply dropping off a package in the building. But as he approached the stairwell level, he saw a man standing there, pale, still, slightly transparent, watching him. The driver thought it was a prank. Until the man disappeared. Not walked away. Not slipped behind a corner. He faded slowly, like smoke dissolving into the air. The driver quit the job that same night. He later described the figure with detail that matched YU MENGLONG's appearance even though he didn't know who he was. But while these supernatural sightings terrorized strangers and stunned fans, those closest to him experienced something deeper, something personal. One of his former managers began receiving late-night calls from an unknown number. Each call lasted exactly 11 seconds, the same date of the tragedy. No voice, no breathing, only faint static, but at the end of each call, just before it cut, he heard a faint clicking sound. The clicking of a metal railing. Another friend reported that mirrors in her home began fogging up even without heat. Every time she wiped the surface, words appeared messy, shaky, but readable. Find the truth. Once, the message shifted. Look at the stairs. The most heartbreaking event came from a longtime fan who had met YU twice during autograph sessions. She visited his memorial site every day. One evening, as she placed white lilies on the ground, her phone, which was off, vibrated. When she turned it on, a single photo appeared in her gallery, YU MENGLONG smiling during a fan meet event. But here's the part that chilled her to the bone. She was in the photo. And she wasn't standing next to him in real life. In the photo, YU was smiling directly at her. But his eyes weren't the same. They were sharper, almost pleading. Almost as if he was saying, "You remember me. Help me." But perhaps the most intense supernatural moment, the one that truly changed everything, took place during a private prayer vigil organized by his closest circle of friends. They gathered in a small room lit only by candles, each person holding something that reminded them of him. As they shared memories, the candles flickered. The room dimmed. But what happened next was beyond anything they could have imagined. The candles suddenly shot upward, flames stretching unnaturally high. Then the window blinds slammed shut without wind. The door locked by itself. The temperature dropped so fast you could see everyone's breath. Then the television, which wasn't plugged in, turned on. Static filled the screen. The static slowly shifted into an image. A staircase. His staircase. The place where everything happened. And then, a shadow appeared on the screen, a shape, faint but human. YU MENGLONG. His silhouette stood at the top of the stairs. Slowly, painfully slowly, it raised an arm and pointed downward. Everyone screamed. People fell out of their chairs. But the screen wasn't done. A voice, soft at first, then clearer, echoed across the room. Follow the truth. Then everything shut off. Lights. Candles. TV. Darkness swallowed the whole room. When they finally turned the lights back on, they found something on the floor. A piece of paper. Burned at the edges. Fresh ashes around it. And written on it, in rushed handwriting. He didn't slip. That was the moment his closest friends realized the haunting wasn't just emotional, it was intentional. Purposeful. Calculated. YU MENGLONG's spirit wasn't trying to scare them. He was trying to guide them. Lead them. Push them toward someone or something that had wronged him. And now, with witnesses from all different places experiencing the same supernatural pull, one truth became impossible to ignore. His spirit would not rest until justice was served. More disturbing events were yet to come. Louder signs. Clearer messages. More physical manifestations. But this continuation, this part of the story, marks the moment everyone realized they were no longer dealing with grief or coincidence. They were dealing with a spirit who refused to be silenced. And the quest for justice was only getting started. If you want the next explosive continuation, make sure you like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next mind-blowing chapter. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which supernatural moment in this continuation shocked you the most? Why do you think YU MENGLONG chose specific people to reveal signs to? Do you believe his spirit is guiding them toward the real truth? Drop your thoughts below, I'll be reading every single comment,